All right, I'm back on, and now I still have no chat window, and I can't. Nah, Brittany, the whole window's gone. Like the whole window on the side. Oh my God. Where did the All right, I'm seeing some chat on my iPad here. This is gonna be strange because now I got to look at. Okay, I can't do it there because I can't see the other camera. Okay. All right, I'm seeing some chat. Hold on my iPad here. Turn that down. All right, so hoping to start tying a ton of flies too, looking to enter them. Okay, all right. So let me see if I can get this figured out here because I've got to be able to see this, and I don't know why my chat disappeared off of the big screen here. All right, what I'll do, I'll just set this down and then I'll just go back and look at the comments here. All right, guys, so here we are. I apologize for that. I don't know what happened. My chat window on the big screen over here just disappeared, and I want to be able to talk to you guys. So I've got the iPad here, and just trying to get this figured out so that we can get going because we're about 15 minutes late here. So I've got I've got some, we're going to do caddis flies tonight. I think I've got 5 patterns prepped. I've got 3 subsurface patterns, and I've got 2 dry patterns that we can do. Um, just a couple of housekeeping items to take care of. The Norvise page and the Norvise tires page has been really active these last couple of days, which is good. We generally don't see that in July and August. It was last week. It was triple digits here for just about the whole week, and then it finally did cool off on Friday. But I think every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, leaving work, it was 100 degrees plus. People don't realize it gets that hot here, and it does. So not a lot of people are thinking about fishing or fly tying or basically doing anything. So it's good to see that those 2 platforms are active in July and August. We also we're posting 1 video a week to the Norvise channel. This Norvise channel that you're watching now, the black and orange streamer that Brittany posted on Friday was awesome. I've watched that video a couple of times. Really, really good video. And we're going to try to continue to do that on every Friday. So make sure you check in, or better yet, hit that little bell, that subscribe button, and every time we post a video, you'll get a notification that we have a new video coming up. You also get a notification when we do these live events. So my first time watching. Great to see him doing these events, even with the techno challenges. Yeah, I don't know what's going on, and it's bothering me, but I just gotta put it out of my head and keep going. All right, so the first one that we're going to do is a super simple bug. This is one of the, actually, in the beginner fly tying class that I took, the first one I ever took, this is the first pattern that we learned how to dub on. Of course, we're not going to dub the way that we're going to dub tonight, but this was how we learned how to dub. And this another reason why I picked this is I get this question a lot, and one of the ones that we got after the show last time is, how do you turn on curve, or how do you tie on curved shank hooks? Well, if the shank of the hook is not straight, it is impossible to get it to run. Oh, let me switch the camera. Hold on. There we go. Okay, so if the shank of the hook is curved, it is impossible to get it to run true. So you kind of have 2 choices here. You can set the center or the high part of the hook on center, and then the low point or the tail and the eye are going to run below center. Or you can do what I do when I'm tying on curved shank hooks. This is the way I prefer to do it, is just kind of draw a line from the tail to the eye of the hook, set that plane on center, and then the high point of the hook is gonna hump up a little bit, but you can see the section right behind the eye and the tail portion of the hook are spinning on center. Okay, and that's the way that I like to do it. So this is a curved shank. It's a Daiichi. I believe it is a 2220 hook. This is a size 12. Remember, whenever you're tying on curved shank hook, they're typically like a 1x short, so you can get away with tying on a bigger size, because you kind of want to upsize one hook on your curved shank hooks, because they're usually a little smaller. So we'll just lay down a nice and easy thread base here, nothing crazy. And like I said, this is the first, this pattern is actually the first pattern that this is the first trout that I ever caught on a fly that I tied myself. It was on this pattern. And this, now we've got a little bit of Semperfly. This is 3mm gold wire. And the instructor It's a caddis pattern for sure, but he had a slang term for it, which was SOH, which stands for shit on a hook. And that's basically all we're going to do here. So I'm tying this wire on the side of the hook facing me. We're going to wrap it all the way back to the tail of the fly. We're going to bring it up to the front. We're going to put a half hitch in it. Okay. And we're going to get, then this is an old package. Check out that old package of hare's ear of hairline dubbing. I don't know where I got that from. Probably somebody gave me some of their old fly tying stuff when they stopped tying. I have a bunch of older packets of things like that. So we're going to get a little dubbing here. We're going to tease it out, especially this hare's ear natural dubbing. That's a mat, and we got to get that out because that'll leave us a kind of a wicked, nasty little bump in our pattern. It's not a huge thing. It's not going to hurt anything. It just makes the fly look not the best in the world. So we're going to tease this out. Okay, now as you've seen us do many times before, we're going to spin the vise. We're going to touch the dubbing to the thread. Dubbing jumps out of our fingers up onto the thread, and we're going to work our way to the right. And this is how we do a dubbing noodle with the Norvise. Trying not to go crazy fast so that I don't shake this table too bad. Okay, so there's our dubbing noodle. Now you can't see it, it's off camera, but where my noodle ends, I'm going to pinch the thread, and I'm just going to spin it a little more, and you'll see it'll pull all that dubbing down. It'll tighten it up, and it'll make those guard hairs pop really nice. And you can kind of see, the formation of the noodle, and you can see if there's a couple of places where you're a little thick, you can kind of pull that off. Give it one more spin. These patterns are so easy to tie. We're going to come off the cradle, and we're going to work our way down to the end or the tail section of the fly, which is right there, and we're going to start working our way back up to the front. And the closer I get to the front, the closer I'm going to put these wraps together. So we want to taper this so it's going to be smaller towards the tail, and it's going to get bigger as we get up towards the bead of the fly. There we go. And we'll throw a half hitch in that. And I got somebody messaging me. The chat window is working on my screen. I just sent you a message. Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, Susan, yours hasn't popped up yet. It's not on my on the big screen, but I have my iPad here, so hopefully that'll work. Now we'll take this and we'll take our little Velcro brush here, and we'll brush that out. And the buggier, the more guard hairs and the more stuff you have sticking out of this thing, the better. Okay, now we're going to take our wire, and remember we wrapped over the shank of the hook when we were applying dubbing. Now we're going to wrap under the shank of the hook. So I grabbed the wire with my hackle pliers, and you've got to navigate your way around that hook point. Okay, and then you can set your angle once and just walk that right up the shank of the hook. And there you go. And we'll come back in and we'll get a couple of wraps behind, and we'll get a couple in front and a couple of more behind, and then we'll take this wire and we'll just helicopter it off. And it will break eventually. There we go. Okay, now to finish this off, just you could take this out of the vise right now and fish it, and it would be absolutely fine. I like to cover those thread wraps up right there at the back of the bead. So we're just going to pick just a little bit of dubbing out of here. Spin the vise, touch the dubbing to the thread, dubbing jumps out of my fingers up onto the thread. We'll tighten that up a little bit, make those guard hairs pop, come off of the cradle, wrap that on just kind of like a collar, just so we cover that up. And we will, if I can get my whip finisher to work, do 2 3-turn whip finishes. Pull it down and clip it off. And like I said, the buggier this looks, the better. When it gets in the water, all these guard hairs will start to flow. You could, on that second little bit of dubbing that I did, you could change colors. You could put like a darker color, like a really dark brown or a black. You could put a black bead on this fly. But that's it. And I fish these things all the time. Caddis are very, very prevalent in my home waters. And there you go. It's just a very simple bead head caddis fly. Easy to tie, 2 materials, hook and a bead. And this exact fly, gold bead, hare's ear dubbing, gold rib, is the first trout that I've ever caught on a fly that I tied myself. So there you go. There's one down. So questions on that? Okay, that's one pattern. Piece of cake. Now, I don't know if any of the chats, I haven't had a message pop up here in a minute, so hopefully they're coming through. All right, so if you guys have any questions on that, go ahead and message me and let me know. Refresh this. Oh, just kicked myself out. Hold on. There we go. Nice to see how you do dubbing. Great with the weekly videos. They're actually monthly videos. We do this once a month. So yeah. Okay. Well, we'll get right into the second pattern. Similar to the first one, we're going to do this one on same hook, same bead setup. Okay, let me switch this camera. Well, I just got a great presentation. Oh, okay. Fly tying Santa. How you doing, bud? Okay, same hook, same bead setup. I'm using this is a Semperfly. This is a classic waxed 8/0 thread. Nothing fancy. There's not a, caddis flies are really not that difficult to tie. So we'll lay down a little thread base. Okay, now here's, again, remember this from last time, one of my favorite materials is this Peacock herl. We're going to pull about 4 good looking herls out of here. Okay. We're going to marry those together. It doesn't have to be perfect. These are good. These are really good at long herls. If you have some shorter stuff, you maybe want to take a little more time getting them married together. But this is, even though it's a size 12 hook, there's not a lot of real estate on this hook, so we'll get them married together and then clip the tips off. As we said before, that's the most brittle or weakest part of the material, and because of the size of the hook and the length of this herl, we will have plenty of material on here. Okay, we're going to tie that on. Go over to our cradle. Now, conventional fly tying wisdom is you would take these, you would twist them together, and you would wrap them around the hook. That's fine. You can do it that way. I'm going to show you a way with the vise that we do this and make this herl, in my opinion, look better, and we make it way stronger. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to lay it out on the front, lay it out over the eye of the hook, and then watch what happens right here in this area. We're going to take the vise, we're going to spin the vise, and I'm just going to take that peacock herl and I'm going to wrap it right around the thread. So now what we've done is we've taken those 4 herls, we've twisted them together, and then we've also twisted the thread through the herl. So now I've taken a material that I absolutely love, but generally has a tendency to be a little bit not very durable, and I've made it into an extremely durable material for finishing off this fly. So now we're just going to come off the cradle, and I'm going to wind this back. Now you do have to watch that hook point. And we're going to get it all the way to the back, and then we're going to work our way back up to the front. We'll go all the way up to the bead, and got a little bit extra here, so we're going to treat that like a dubbing loop. So I'll go 3 wraps in front, 3 wraps behind, 1 more in front, and we'll come in here and we'll clip that off. Okay, now we're going to throw a 1/2 hitch in here. Every time we go on the cradle, we put a 1/2 hitch in. Okay, and I'm going to come back to my, again, the same dubbing, this hare's ear. This says number 4, but it really looks like hare's ear number 1 to me. Just a little bit of dubbing on here, spin the vise, touch the dubbing to the thread. Dubbing jumps off my fingers up onto the thread, and we'll pinch that, spin it together to tighten it up. Make those guard hairs pop out, come off of the cradle, roll this nice little collar on here, and we will whip finish this. And get out of here. And we'll clip this off. And now I'm going to come in here with my little Velcro, and I'm just going to brush this out. You can use that, you can use your bodkin as well. You can pick this out a little bit. This just gives the kind of the illusion of legs or movement in the water. All these little guard hairs and all this stuff is gonna flow in the water and just give you the illusion of some movement. So this is basically the same pattern that we just tied, but we're using peacock herl for the body as opposed to dubbing. So this is, I love peacock herl in the water. It gets kind of gold and maroon colors, and just the modeling in it, it just looks so fishy to me. And there really is no, they've tried to do it with different synthetic materials and synthetic peacock and synthetic dubbing, and it just, in my opinion, just does not look the same. So there's fly number 2. It's just a beadhead peacock caddis. Very simple to fly. These are very simple to tie, rather. These hey Todd, what's up? Works for ostrich also. Yeah, Brittany said that technique that I just did with the peacock, if you're using ostrich herl, depending on the application, you can do the same thing with ostrich herl and use your thread to reinforce your ostrich as well. So again, super killer pattern. Will catch any fish that swims. This is a tungsten bead. It is a 1/8 diameter tungsten bead. This happens to be gold. You could tie, I like black, I like the gunmetal beads. I just tie a bunch of them and tie them in a bunch of different colors, different collars. If you're going with a black bead, you can do a black dubbed collar. But the main thing with your collar is you want it to be something with some long guard hairs in it, so that you get that flow in the water when this thing is drifting down the river. So there you go. That's number 2, and that is Peacock bead head Peacock caddis. So super super cool pattern, and you can sit on a rainy weekend day. You can spin up a whole box of these things. They're not at all hard to tie. Okay. Brittany Davenport, yes, Peacock Girl, that's her favorite demo. Okay. So any questions, let me know. And we're moving right along here, which is good, being it took me almost 15 minutes to get everything signed in. This one, on the last one that we did, I did that pheasant tail flimp, which was basically the pheasant tail with a soft hackle collar on it. That, as I said then, was one of my all-time favorites. This is another one of my all-time favorites, and I probably caught more trout on those 2 flies, that pheasant tail, and then this one, which this is a hare's ear soft hackle. On that pheasant tail or this hare's ear are probably 2 of my go-tos. Super simple to tie, super fishy, not that dissimilar from our first fly that we tied. Let me switch the camera up here. And we will get started. So this is a mustad. No, it's not a mustad. This is a Daiichi 1180. This is actually a dry fly hook, and that is by design. This is typically a pattern that I want kind of free floating in the water. I want it kind of going up and down with the current. In Pennsylvania, where I do the majority of my trout fishing, we're allowed to fish 3 flies on the rig, and this will generally be the top fly on the rig. It'll be tied off of a dropper, and I don't want a ton of weight on this fly because I really want it to just kind of move up and down with the current and undulate and hit it a bunch of different current depths and current seams. So we're going to tie on here, and remember, like I said the last time, particularly when we're tying these wet flies, I see a lot of people crowding or rushing the eye of the hook. You want to give yourself a little space up there, so whatever the diameter of that hook is, you want to use at least that much, give yourself that much to build the head, which I've done here, which is about right there. It's very, very important, particularly when you're trying to finish a collar on a fly without having it bleed over onto the eye of the hook, or you build this big nasty honking head to try to get all the fibers to go back. They'll still fish. Definitely put them in your box, definitely fish them, especially a subsurface pattern, because you're going to break it off and you're going to lose it. But it's just something that you want to that you just want to be aware of. Patrick, definitely get the automatic bob. Okay, I just got a standard vise. What other accessories would you recommend? Also, any advice for a beginner fly tire? Okay, that's Patrick. Yeah, as Ray said, I would definitely recommend the auto bobbin. My next question would be, what type of flies do you tie the most? If you're a trout guy, I would look at our fine point jaws, possibly our shank jaws, because they're more designed for tying smaller patterns. If you're a smallmouth guy or a big streamer guy, I would look at our large jaws. Definitely the bobbin, we said that, depending on where you're set up in your tying area. If you have plenty of light, that's great. If you don't have a lot of light, I I would look at the LED light. If you can't see it, you can't tie it. That's what I tell everybody. Um, what else? Granite bases are nice. Um, Waste baskets are great. If you buy the bamboo board or the granite base, the waste basket comes with it. Toolbars are great. That's the beauty of the system, is everything is modular, and you don't have to buy everything all at once. Um, and as I'm designing and bringing out new products, I try to not discontinue anything or make anything obsolete with anything new that I make. I can't say that that's going to be 100% of the time that I'm going to be able to do that, but we do really try, because I hate that thing like computers. You buy one and 6 months later it's outdated, or a car, you buy a new car, you drive it off the lot, it depreciates 30%. That's not what we're about. I want to make stuff that people can buy and then they can add to, for months, weeks, and months and years to come. So yeah, definitely look at the bobbin and the light, depending on how your lighting conditions are, and the toolbar. I think that's probably our three most popular products after the vise itself. LED lights a must. I like the tool organizer tray, multiple spools. Yeah, they're all good suggestions. All right, same wire that we used before. Again, we're going to tie it on the near side of the hook. That is, as I explained last time, that's more so that when you do your counter wrap, you don't worry about rolling the tail over to one side of the hook. Caddis typically don't have tails, so we don't really have to worry about that. But it's just a habit that I get into, that I always want the wire on the side of the hook facing me. Oh, and then Patrick, for your second question, what advice can you recommend for a beginning fly tyer? These live events are great. We actually had a suggestion, and we'll look into this possibly for the next one, where I will put out what we're going to tie and a list of materials, like maybe the Monday before, so then you guys can get all your stuff ready, so you can tie along with me, and that way if you have any questions, you can ask about that. If you have access to a fly shop that gives tying lessons, I would definitely recommend checking that out. There are some good instructional videos on YouTube. Tim Flagler at Tightline Productions is really good. Tim Camisa at Trout and Feather is really good. The one thing that I will caution you on YouTube is, a lot of people label their stuff fly tying instruction, and it turns into a hey, look at me, and they're not really instructing. They're kind of showing you how great they are, which is fine. But if you're there to learn and they're not showing you the techniques of how to tease out your dubbing, and how to do a half hitch, and how to use your thread tension to manipulate your materials, you may find that yourself is lost. You may find that you're lost in some of the things they're trying to teach you. So YouTube is definitely a resource. I would just say caution it, but Tim Flagler or Tim Camisa, you can't go wrong with those guys. Yeah, curious what the dubbing table is used for. It's for making dubbing brushes. I will do that. There's actually several dubbing brush videos on this channel that you're watching now, and I will do that on one of the future YouTube events. All right, so here's our dubbing. Same dubbing as before. We're going to spin the vise. We'll touch the dubbing to the thread. Dubbing jumps off my fingers up onto the thread, and then we just slowly work our way to the right, and just work our way up the thread. Again, I'm trying to do this slow so I don't bounce this table too much. That was one of the things that we learned last time. I have to reinforce this table when I had to make this studio mobile, because it does have a little bit of bounce to it. It's not too bad though. Okay, so now I've got my dubbing noodle on. I've tightened the noodle up, so now I'm going to come off my cradle, and I'm going to work my way to the back of the fly, trying desperately to not cut my thread on that hook point. And now we'll start working our way forward, and as I get to about this point, I'm going to lay those wraps really close together, because I want this to be tapered. I want it to be smaller towards the back and bigger towards the front. And I also want a bit of a support ball here at the front to support my collar. So it's kind of tough to see with this because of all this bugginess, and I want that bugginess, don't get me wrong, but when I kind of pull this back, you can see the taper, how thin it is here, and then how thick it gets up here. And here there's a bit of a support ball. If you pinch it in your fingers, you can really feel it. And what that's going to do is that's going to support my collar that we're going to put on. Okay. I love that benefit of dubbing, yeah, for sure. Okay, so same wire, and again we wrap the dubbing over the shank of the hook, so the wire we're going to wrap under the shank of the hook. And the reason, for those of you who weren't here for the last one, if I had a tail coming off of this hook, which I don't have because caddis generally don't have a tail, but if this was, you know, a flimp or some kind of mayfly pattern, I may have a tail coming off. If you tie the wire on the side of the hook that's facing you, and you're counter wrapping, so you're wrapping under the shank of the hook, by the time you get the first bit of tension on the wire is on the bottom side of the hook. Okay, so now I've got some tension on it. So then as I rotate back up to the top side of the hook, you can see I've advanced that wire almost a 1/16 of an inch. And if people have issue with their rib taking their tail and rolling it to the far side of the hook, this will take care of that. And we're just going to set our angle, walk that up. And there's that, you can see that support ball right there. And you can see it's wanting to roll forward, which is fine. I don't care about that because you're not, when the pattern's done, you're not really going to see that anyway. Okay, so you can see I've got my wire on. I got some real nice segmentation here. It just gives it makes it very, very durable. It also gives it a more of a finished buggy look, in my opinion. So now with the auto bobbin, you can see I don't have to wind the slack up. It just comes right back in, and I'm ready to tie. And I'll get 3 behind, 3 in front, and then because this is wire, I will repeat that again. 3 behind, 3 in front, and we will. And this is a dry fly hook, so I'm kind of supporting it with my fingers while I'm twisting this wire off. I want this to be a light wire hook because I want this thing to, you know, kind of up and down in the water. Okay, so we're going to finish this off with a collar. Another one of my favorite, definitely my favorite collaring material is partridge. You can buy the packs that are where the feathers are all plucked off. I prefer to tie off of the skin, and then for this, what we're going to do, we're going to use these ones up here by the neck that have kind of all the speckles and the modeling on it. Just gives it a cool look, kind of, if you've ever looked at real flies under the in the water, or you know, if you pulled them out and looked at them, or ever pumped a trout's stomach, which be careful if you're going to do that. The legs on these bugs are not, they're not one solid color. Do I think if I tied this in a solid color, do I think I would not catch fish, or I would catch more fish with one with the speckled? I don't know. I doubt it. I doubt that the fish can see, but I know that when I have confidence in the fly that I'm tying, I fish it better, and I know that when I fish it better, I generally catch more fish. So that's why I like to use this material, because it moves great, it looks super cool, and it gives me a lot of confidence in the pattern that I'm tying. That's about right. Okay, so we'll prep this up. Still have a hard time getting my auto bobbin to take up slack. Check it, make sure that you've got it threaded properly. They are directional, and if you have, you can see on this one, see that arrow that's on the bottom there? your thread has to be coming off the same direction as that arrow. If the thread's coming off in the opposite direction of the arrow, it can't wind. It's physically impossible for it to do what it's supposed to do. When I assemble these, and I assembled about 150 bobbins today. When I wind that spring and put it in there, the spring is directional, so it can only wind in one direction. And if you have it on there the wrong way, it physically cannot wind it. Okay, so we've got our feather tied in, and we're going to grab this with our hackle pliers. And once we get it started, you kind of want to pull them back a little bit, and you want to wrap this forward, so you don't want to wrap over top of any of these fibers. Oh, I just banged that camera. So you want to do a wrap, and then you kind of want to stroke them back with your fingers, and then your next wrap will go right in front of that, just like so. Okay, so now you can see I've got the stem of the feather is I've wound all of the material onto the fly, and the stem of the feather is on the side of the hook facing the camera. I'm going to come in here with my finger, and I'm just going to pinch it to the far side of the hook, and then I can let go of the hackle pliers. And this is another reason why the auto bobbin's so great, is I don't have to wind any of this slack, so I can pinch that, let go of the hackle pliers, and then I can just come up, and I can very carefully work my way behind here. And as soon as I get that stem trapped, I can put a couple of 2 or 3 good solid wraps on it behind it, 2 or 3 in front of it. That'll lock it in. I can come in here with my scissors, clip that out, and I can pull this. I don't have a hackle handy dandy Norvise hackle guard on this, so I'll do the old school way, and I'll just wrap a nice tapered head on here, and we will whip finish. Generally, I'll do 2 3-turn whip finishes. That head's a little on the big side, but that's okay. I'm gonna clip that out. And that's a hare's ear wet or a hare's ear soft hackle, and I catch so many fish on that fly. Such an easy fly to tie. I'll dead drift it. I'll swing it. I tie big ones of these for steelheads, like size 6s. Same pattern, just big, obviously bigger hook. And for steelhead, I don't use a dry fly hook. This will be a trout pattern, but yeah, you can see from the front. And then if you want to, you can come in here and you can brush this stuff up, kind of break those feather barbs, because they will kind of stick to each other. And once you get it in the water, and even if you get some fish slime on it, it's even better. But that's the hare's ear soft hackle. Absolutely love this fly. So now we've done 3 subsurface, and we're going to do 2 topwater. And I'll tell you right now, do you normally glue your fly heads, or does a good whip finish lock it in tight enough? It is rare that you will see me glue my heads on like trout flies, like these small ones. When if I'm tying bigger streamers and things like that, I will. The reason I don't, particularly on subsurface trout patterns, number one, I trust my whip finishes. I use good thread. I do 2 3-turn whips. Let me change this real quick. There we go. I do 2 3-turn whip finishes. I don't really see a need to glue them. And honestly, when you're nymphing, if you're nymphing properly, you're going to lose a lot of flies. Um, and I don't see the need to. It's rare that I have a fly that comes apart. Um, and like I said, on these little trout flies and stuff, I just don't do it. I'm not saying that not to. It's just my preference that I don't. Okay. All right. So now we're going to go to. This is going to be the Mustad 3906B. No. No. It is okay, this is the same one that we just used. It's a Daiichi 1180. This is going to be in a size 12. Um, my caddis flies in my area will generally be probably a 14 is our go-to, 16s sometimes, but I'm tying a lot of times when I'm tying on screen, I'll go a little bit bigger. It just makes it easier for you guys to see. So let's get this in here. And this first fly is going to serve double duty. 2 patterns in one. Okay, so we've got our hook in. Remember, with our standard jaw, you want to be level and even with the top of the jaw. Okay, that allows you to spin on center, just like so. Okay, we're going to tie. We're going to tie on just behind the eye of the hook. Lay down just a nice, easy thread base. Back up to the front. Throw a half hitch in there. Get in the habit of putting half hitches in after you complete. Definitely every time you go on the bobbin cradle, do it, and in between each steps. Particularly if you're just starting out, and even if you've been tying for a long time, you're going to at some point you're going to break your thread. Okay, if you have a series of half hitches in your pattern at the end of each step or what have you, if you break your thread, you're only going to lose the pattern back to the last half hitch, and you just tie your thread back on and go. If you don't have any half hitches in it and you break your thread, you're liable to lose the entire fly. So, and it definitely makes for a more durable fly for sure. All right, again, so we're going to go to my favorite, and it's again the Peacock curl. And yes, this is a dry fly, and we're going to use Peacock curl for this. Same deal as before. We're going to marry them together, and we're going to cut them off, and we're going to tie them on just like before. A couple of good tight wraps on there. Okay, we're going to bring them over over the eye of the hook. We're going to spin the vise. We're going to wrap that herl around the thread like so. And then we're going to come off, and we're going to work our way to the back of the fly. And then we're going to turn around and we're going to come right back up to the front. And we're going to go just a little bit behind the eye on this one, because this is again, this is a two material fly. So we'll go 3 wraps in front, 3 wraps behind, 1 more in front. That'll lock it in, and then we'll come in here and cut that off. So this is, incidentally, if you know this Peacock body, I did a Peacock peacock and partridge the last time. This is going to be a peacock caddis. I said this is a double duty fly. If you have the little black stone flies, we get them here in like March, first week of March till about the beginning of April. The little black stones, the winter stones, or we call them snow stones. It would be a smaller hook. It would definitely be a size 16, but this peacock body duplicates those little black stone flies perfect. But if you're doing a prince sniff, any peacock body fly, you can use this technique. All right, now for the wing, we're going to use a material that probably not a lot of people have heard about. Okay, it's a buddy of mine. His name's Rick Niles. He owns Sky Blue Outfitters here in southeastern Pennsylvania. It's called Up and Down Wing Material. Wings for caddis, mayflies, spinners, and more. You can make parachute posts out of this. You can make downwing caddis flies like we're going to do now. You can do spinners where you lay it out to the side. Just a bunch of cool stuff. And I'll hold this up here for a minute. And I believe, yeah, upanddown.com, and I believe that website is still workable. Or his name's Rick Niles, and it's Sky Blue Outfitters. Runs a guiding service here. All right. So basically, what this is, it's these pre-cut. I've got one of them here. It's a synthetic material, okay, and it's kind of pre-bundled together. This area is like burned together, and then you have that, and then it goes towards the back to make the wing. So what I do with this, especially if they've been in the pack for a while, is I'll take I have my little Velcro board on the other end. I've got this comb, and I'll come in here and I'll comb this out. And this is just to kind of break the fibers up and just kind of get them to lay out nice and even. Now you can see, okay, see what I've got there? And this, like I said, this is a synthetic. It takes floating very, very well. But what I do is, for this particular pattern, I leave this this burnt section on here. Actually, I just remembered I need to switch threads for this. So I will finish this off. Okay. Yeah, I almost forgot this. Okay, and now this is black Semperfli Nano Silk. And the reason that I switch is because you can put a ton of wraps with this stuff on, and you don't have to worry about it bulking up. When you do spinning of the peacock herl, is that clockwise or counterclockwise? I do it clockwise, the same way that you do the dubbing, just out of habit, but I don't think it really matters either way if you spin it towards you or away from you. But 90% of what we do on the vise, I do with the vise spinning toward me, unless I'm counter wrapping, and that's when you spin it away from you. Okay, but what I do with this is I'll leave that little black kind of, that burnt on section, I'll leave it on there, and that becomes the head of the bug. Okay, so you want it just about even with the eye of the hook. Okay, and you want to pull down. Now don't go crazy on this, because this nano silk, if you pull it enough, you'll actually cut this stuff in half. And I'm just kind of using my fingers to manipulate this, because we want it on the top of the shank of the hook. And then once I get it where I want it, just like we do with an elk hair caddis, we'll just put several wraps on there, and then I'll whip finish it. Now if I was using that other thread, first of all, it's kind of the wrong color for this, and second of all, it would have bulked up behind the thread a lot, because that's a 6/0, and this is nano silk, and I believe this is like 18/0 or something like that. Super super thin, but it's super super strong as well. Okay, and then we'll come in here and we'll clip that, and that down and out, it's just such a cool material, and it just makes such an awesome looking wing. Now you can, if you want to, you could trim that. I don't. That would be my finished pattern right there. It rides low in the water. It's going to ride just about on the belly, but this stuff is it's a kind of a brownish gray color, but on the water it's very very visible. Takes floating very well. You take your float and kind of stroke it forward to get it underneath, and then take your pinky, stroke it back, and lay it down over top of the bug. Just a killer bug. Super easy to tie. That would be a major time saver for tying large orders. Oh, that material, yeah, it is. It is a major time saver, and you don't have to stack anything. You don't have to trim anything. You could, if you wanted to, you could bunch this together, come in here with your scissors and trim it off. I don't. That's the finished fly right there. No ifs, ands, or buts. I will tie that on, and I will fish that until it's unfishable. Now, if you want, you can take this a step further. If you want to make this a skating pattern, you can, when you tie the material on, you can put a dry fly hackle collar around the front, just a couple of wraps. That'll keep the front kind of up off of the water, and you can skitter it or skate it across. This is going to be a really good, like, slick water, smooth water pattern, where caddis generally like to hatch, caddis and the stoneflies, because stoneflies are generally, they don't hatch out of the water. They crawl to the side, crawl up on the vegetation, and then they hatch there. So they're going to be more in a slower, slicker kind of water. So this is a really really good pattern for that. All right, one more to go. This is going to be a, I'll get my Starbucks summer lemonade refresher. So, any questions on any of that? And if, I'll give it a couple of seconds here, and then we'll go right into our last pattern. It's about 8:09, so this last pattern will put us right at about an hour after the technical difficulties, which I still don't have a chat window on my Mac. I've got it on the. Oh, Dead Drift, what's going on, dude? You're late. You're like an hour late. What are you doing, man? Killing me. Dead Drift Fly Fishing is Cade. He's down in Virginia. He'll be, yeah, that's another thing. We're already starting to think about shows this year. We're thinking about new products that we're going to bring out this year. We've got some super super cool stuff. We did not bring out any new products last year. That was by design. I can promise you that will not be the case this year. We've got some really cool new stuff coming out that I think you guys are going to really really like. All right. So now I'm going to go back to my classic waxed 8/0 thread. Or 6/0, I guess it was. Okay. And we're going to lay down a thread base like so. Not quite that far. Okay, because this is going to be a hackled version. So I don't tie a ton of dry flies because, believe it or not, I don't fish a ton of dry flies. When I do, and this stuff is way expensive, but it's still the best hackle that's out there. It's this Whiting 100s, and if you keep your wits about you, the reason it's called a Whiting 100 is you can in theory tie 100 flies with this. And I generally have a short piece in here, but I guess I don't on this one. So I'm going to pull one of these off of the card, and I'm going to prep this. And this is a little bit different. We're going to hackle this from the tail to the front of the fly. Okay, so you can see I've prepped the feather. Now do a gathering wrap to get that in, and we'll wrap it back to the tail, which would be the point right above the barb of the hook, and then we'll come back up to the front. Okay. Now we're going to spin some dubbing on this, and I'm going to have that hackle feather in the back, and I don't want it really flopping all over the place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and I'm going to feed it down through the gap in the jaws. Okay, so I'm going to feed it down through this gap here, and what that's going to do is it's going to keep it out of the way, and it's also going to not have it flailing all over the place as I'm trying to do the dubbing. So there's a cool. Just got back from New York fishing for lake trout. Took a little nap. That's all good. Everybody needs a lap, bud. Did you get a lake trout? That's one that's on my bucket list. I do not have a lake trout yet, and I want one in the worst way. All right. So Superfly, dry fly dubbing. This happens to be brown. Caddis is going to be a brown or a cinnamon color there. You may find some of them, what we call the apple caddis, which are green or almost a chartreuse green. You can do black, but this is just a basic brown. Superfly, super fine dry fly dubbing. It is a synthetic. I like synthetic dubbing for my dry flies just because they take floating well. They're easy to dub, and they don't get waterlogged or as waterlogged as like a muskrat dubbing or some of the natural animal dubbings that are out there. All right, so I got my dubbing, teased it out. I got something funky there. I got to pull that out. Okay, so there's my dubbing. Remember, I took the hackle feather and I put it down through the gap in the jaws, and that'll keep it out of the way. If you have one of our material clips on the hub, you could put it in there as well. That would do the same thing. Okay, so I'm going to tease this dubbing out. I'm going to spin the vise. I'm going to touch dubbing to the thread. Dubbing jumps out of my fingers, up onto the thread, and then we'll work our way to the right. And this is a size, I believe this is a size 12 hook, so I got a pretty long noodle here. It's probably too long, to be honest with you, but if it is, we can always take it off, or I can always cut it off. So I'm going to pinch this just like we've been doing before. Now there's no guard hairs in this, but when I pinch it and spin it, you can see it's going to tighten this all up, give us a nice tight compact dubbing noodle, which is going to in turn give us a nice tight compact fly. Okay, we're going to work our way to the back where we've got our hackle tied in, which is right there, and now we'll start working our way up to the front, and the closer we get to the eye of the hook, the closer these wraps are going to go together, because we want this. I got a big gnarly wad of dubbing there that needs to come out. Okay, so here's a cool little tip. Okay, go back on the collar, pinch it here, spin the vise, and I can pack that dubbing right down again. See how I did that? Now come off of the cradle and work our way back, and there you go. Yeah, I'll go ahead and put that on. You're not going to see it when I'm done. Okay. And we'll throw a half hitch in. Okay, now, Tim, you coming for the Norvise trip this year? I am not Sure. This is one of the guides for Steelhead Alley Outfitters, and he's asking if I'm coming on the hosted trip. I'm not sure. I've got some other things that I'm working on that are pulling for my time right now. Um, so I've kind of turned that trip over to one of our ambassadors, Sean Rakes. If you're interested in going steelhead fishing, reach out to me. It's a great trip. We've been doing it for 10 years. Um, it's probably the best trip up to this area, Steelhead Alley, which is the southern shore of Lake Erie. And I was actually just talking to him before we went live, and I believe he's got like 5 spots left. So if you're interested, and Rob's one of the guides, he's first class. He puts up with me. He puts up with my father-in-law every year. So yeah, he's a great guy. But yeah, if you're interested in going steelhead fishing, let us know. Copy that. I hope to see you soon. We're definitely coming up for Thanksgiving, but I don't know if I'm going to make it on the hosted trip. And the reason being is I'm looking into some other hosted trip opportunities, and there's only so many weekends and weeks in a year, and I still have 3 businesses to run. So I've only got so much time. So I would love to go on every trip to every area. It's just not in the cards right now. Okay, so now I've got my body down. Now we're going to take our hackle and we're going to work our way to the front. And if you do this right, see how that hackle lays out nice, nice and perfect. That's why I use whiting 100s right there. Okay, so now with the auto bobbin, I'm right back in and ready to tie. We'll do 3 behind, 3 in front, and now when I go to cut this feather off, I'm not going to snip it with the scissors because I don't want to cut any of the, particularly on the bottom of the fly. I don't want to cut any of this off. So basically, I'm just going to leave these scissors open, and I'm going to put a little bit of tension on the stem of the feather, and I'm just going to come in here and I'm just going to slide the blade across that feather stem. And it's going to pop that stem out. Now I'm already just about ready for my next fly, and I didn't cut any of these hackle barbs off. So cool little technique for you. But that is why I use the whiting 100s, because they just hackle so nice. Now I want to get a couple of those trapped. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, now this is a material that some of you may be familiar with, some of you may not be. It is a great winging material. I am not a big elk hair or deer hair guy for wing. I don't like stacking hair. I don't like to tap and to pull it. I can do it. I've done a bunch of flies that way. I don't like it. There's some other materials, honestly, that I think are better. And there you go. Snowshoe rabbit feet. Okay, so snowshoe rabbit, kind of similar to the CDC on a duck, the gland. Snowshoe rabbit, and there's his. I mean, you can see his toenails are right there. They have an oil gland in their feet that protects them from the snow, and this is how they stay warm, and this is how they keep their feet from getting frostbite in the wintertime. So that oil it's a kind of a waterproofing, similar, like I said, to CDC. So it is a very good natural fly floatant, and I like this. I like this material, and like I said, I'm not crazy about the stacking of the deer hair, and deer hair or elk hair is not bad. Calf tail can kind of be a pain to stack, and I just don't like doing it. So I would prefer to tie with this. So I've got this down on my thigh here, and I'm getting a clump of hair out, about the size of a matchstick. Okay, which is right here. And now I'm going to take my comb, because they do have, and you'll see, they do have some underfur even down on their feet, and you want to get as much of that out as you can. There you go, you can see it in there. Okay. And I don't stack this. If you have any that are like crazy long, you can pull them out. To be honest with you, I don't care. And I'm going to measure this up, and I'm going to give it a snip to even those all up. And now I'm going to come in. Some guys will take and they will cut these off. You can if you want to. I normally don't, but I'm going to come in from in front of, and I'm going to sweep those back like so. Okay. And we're going to do a pinch wrap and pull down. And I'll do a couple of wraps on there, and then I'll take my thumb and I'll kind of push this down so that I want it distributed on the top about 180 degrees of the hook shank. And we'll put a couple more wraps on there. And where's my whip finish tool? I probably should have changed threads for this one as well. I will say the head on this one doesn't look quite as good as like the elk hair heads when you cut them and they kind of flare out. I don't really care. This thing catches fish like nobody's business. It floats like a cork. It's great for if you want to do a dry and dropper with a caddis and a like a light bead head underneath it. And we could just come in here, trim this up a little bit, get it looking more caddisy, if that's a word. And there you go. And that's your standard elk hair caddis. I definitely should have switched threads with that, so it didn't bulk up as much, but it'll fish for sure. Nope. Okay, so there we go. There's 5 caddis patterns. All 5 of them will catch fish. 3 underneath, 2 on top. I'll hang out here for a little bit. Any recommendations on type of brush and comb to use? This one that I use is made by Snowshoe in Italy. It's one of the best ones out there. So you can buy their brush and all that, but don't buy their vise. Buy my vise. No, I'm just kidding you. They make a great product. You can't go wrong with any Snowshoe product. Okay. Love that material. Use it for myself. Oh, the hairs, the feet, the snowshoe rabbit. Yeah, God, I couldn't think of it. Yeah, it's a good material, and it's good for more than just putting wings and stuff on. It is really a cool cool material. And if you haven't used it, definitely should add it to your repertoire. Like I said, I don't like the tapping. We go to all the shows and all that, and there's guys that are tying. You just hear them for 8-10 hours a day, tap 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 on that hair stacker, and I just don't like it. I got a bunch of them over there. I just never use them. So great job, Tim. I have to leave to get set up over here. Yeah, I hear you, bud. Thank you for tuning in. Much love. Say hey to the wife and father-in-law. I will. I use Snowshoe Rabbit for time. The usual. Yeah, that's where I think it became very, very popular. Where you use that snowshoe for the head for the entire fly. That's the only material that you use. It's great, and it floats great. It floats like a cork. So yeah, there you go. There's our 4 patterns. It's about 8:30. It's about 8:26. I'll hang out till about 8:30 if you have any questions, and if not, thank you all for coming. We will do this again next month. I'll post up the date soon. I got to look at my calendar and see when I'm going to be free. Any suggestions that you have, anything that you want to see, put them in the comments. We're compiling a list of things. Um, Tying on the scud hook, that was one that was actually suggested like 2 or 3 times last time, so that's why I did caddis flies, so we could tie on bent shank hooks. Any of the products that you want to see, just let me know. I can't say that I'll get to them on the next one, but we will definitely get to it. So any questions you have, let me know, or forever hold your peace. And this will be on the, it goes right onto the YouTube channel under videos, I believe it is. And then this week I will post it to our Facebook platforms as well. So you'll be able to go back and watch this if you missed anything, or if you want to watch it again, or if you want to learn any of the patterns. Have a great evening. Awesome job. Thank you. Trout spay switch flies. I did I did a trout spay last week, um, and I have some more because I do a lot of trout spay fishing. I love nymphing and I love swinging flies. So yeah, that's something that we can definitely work in. Hi Tim, was just watching from, oh God, I can't even pronounce that. Somewhere in New Zealand. What was the comb you used to comb out the hair? Okay, so I'll show it to you again. It's made by Stonfo, and it's got the little Velcro on one side, and it's got the comb on the other. And if you're in Italy, I'm going to come over, and I'm going to stay with you, and I want to shoot a red stag, and I want to trout fish over there. So what month do I have to come over that I can shoot a red stag with a bow and then go catch big trout in gin clear water? Let me know. That's cool. Somebody from New Zealand. That's I like that. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. What time is it over there? Is it like early in the morning or super late at night or what? All right. Well, it looks like we've. Thanks. Did not mean to type that. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to sign off here. I'm going to go up and I don't know what I'm going to do. Michelle and I watched Forrest Gump for the 9,000th time last night. That is a great movie. It's Monday at 12:28 p.m. Okay. Awesome. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. Reach out to me, Tim at nor-vise.com. Message me on Facebook, or put a comment up on the Facebook page or on this YouTube. So, thanks, guys. Appreciate you tying in. We'll see you in a few weeks.